let me guess, your back keeps hurting. You've tried all the things they recommend. You're quite active, you get your 10k steps, go to the gym, go for massages, but your back keeps feeling stiff and tight. You've lost mobility and you're feeling like your body's falling apart. Believe me, you are not alone. I cannot tell you how many times I've said to myself, why do I feel like I'm 90 years old? And everyone I speak to is saying, my back is really sore all the time. But the key isn't just more exercise or more rest. The key is learning the system which is going to take your back out of that tense state and to ease up, get more mobile so that you can come out of it and start exercising with less pain and feeling alive again. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through why your back is painful, why this is happening, how that pain stress cycle is affecting you. And I'm going to take you through the exact system to get your back moving again so that you can feel good, not like you're about to fall apart. First of all, why is your back sore? Of course, there could be a million reasons why your back is sore. You could have an injury, you could have a medical condition, but for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about those general aches and pains, not a specific problem which you should go and see a doctor about. So why is everything just stiff and sore? Generally speaking, we have a very sedentary lifestyle. We spend a lot of time sitting at a desk, scrolling social media, and not moving as much as our body actually wants us to. Our joints and our bodies were not designed to stay still. I mean, the shoulder joint is literally meant to be able to do this, to go forward, backwards, up and down. But if we spend a lot of time on a computer, we're like this. That shoulder joint is not moving. And that's why we get a lot of tension, because the muscles are all being held in a certain position, because you're still using your muscles to hold in that position. You're using through your traps. You're literally holding your muscles still all the time. And your body doesn't like that. The joints don't like being still. They want to move because there's a natural lubricant in the joints. And the more you move, the more it naturally lubricates up. And that helps to reduce pain. It helps to get the nutrients into the body, helps to get the blood flow. And the exact same thing is happening with your back. Your spine is a joint, right? It's meant to move. If we spend a lot of time sitting at the computer, on our phones, on the couch, our spine is generally just like this, or maybe a slight curve if you slouch. The problem is your spine is designed to curve and arch, and it's designed to twist. Your body is designed to move, well, not quite 360, but it's meant to move a lot. But if we hold ourselves in that position, all of those muscles which keep you still are being overworked, and all of the ones that are designed to help with the twisting and the turning are being underused. And the same also goes for the gym and walking. So even if you are trying to be active, get your 10k steps every day, you might find that's actually not always helping your back pain. You might have found that it helped to begin with because you're getting a little bit more movement than what you normally do. But at some point along the line, that progress has stalled, or maybe your back is now worse than it used to be. Most exercises that we do, say for walking, you're just holding yourself and it's just your legs that are moving. Your back is perfectly still. You're still not moving your spine. And then when you go to the gym, you're doing a deadlift, you're doing an RDL, you're doing a pull. Every single one, your back is still and you are bracing to stop your back moving. You're literally trying to stop your back moving. You're actually in the process. I'm trying not to move my back so that I get that full muscle contraction. Now, obviously that's very beneficial when you're trying to grow strength and you're trying to target individual muscles because you want to be able to brace. You're training your core when you do that as well. You are training on those stabilizing muscles, but you're not training the ones which are designed to move you. But this also doesn't mimic everyday life, because when you're trying to do things like pick up a pen or reach up to get a mug, you're pulling your back out of that perfect alignment, but your body's not used to it because you spend so much time trying to stay still. And that is what makes you put your back out. You've gone to check your blind spot and that's when your neck spasms. It's not when you're at the gym lifting the heavy weights, it's when you do something really small and insignificant and you go, oh, my neck. In fact, let me know in the comments, what is the funniest or the daftest way that you've twinged something in your body? I guarantee we're going to have a bit of a laugh in the comments with that. But there is a reason for that. And the reason is exactly as I said, we spend so much time generally, even if we're exercising, trying not move the back. And then when we're just chilling, we're slouching on the couch. So our body is not getting through that full range of movement that it's supposed to. So as soon as you do one of those movements, your body is like, what on earth is going on? And it just sends that spasm and that pain signal to say, whoa, what are you doing? Let's just pull that back. And that takes me into the next point. Why is that happening in the first place? It doesn't just randomly go one day out of nowhere, although it might feel like it does. Generally speaking, you've had something underlying. You've probably had a bit of a tight shoulder, you've maybe twinged it doing whatever it is that you do day to day, and it's just been that final spark which has just set it off. Now, the reason that happens is because your nervous system is a little bit wired. Your nervous system is designed to protect you. And when it feels there's a bit of a, not quite injury, but there's a bit of guarding there, and it's thinking, there's something not quite right about that shoulder or that back. I'm a bit tentative here. Your body's already in high alert. Your brain is consciously consciously thinking of that particular pain point. You've probably experienced this too. How many times you have a sore back, you've been very conscious how you move day to day. So for example, you find yourself bracing trying to pick up that pen because you're scared that you're going to put your back out, because your body is in high alert thinking something's going to happen, we don't trust movement anymore. So your body is stuck in this tense state all the time. And it's not even just about pain, it's about that stress pain cycle. So the two of them together keep itself perpetuating so that you move, something hurts, it sends more pain signals, so you feel more stressed, so it sends more pain, stress, pain, stress. And when you think back to any of those times that you have twinged something, what were you doing when it happened? But what were you doing 2 or 3 days before it? And this is the next point. It doesn't happen out of nowhere. We've got to learn to identify our personal triggers, which make the brain think danger. For me personally, I have always had a dodgy shoulder. For the last 20 years, even right back in school, I always had a sore shoulder. Generally, it was always random when that shoulder would go into a spasm. And I'm like, why has that happened? What is going on here? And it was always something insignificant that put that shoulder into a spasm. I woke up in the morning and my alarm was going off. So I reached over, shoulder went. That was the move that did it. Another time I was at the gym. I sat down, did my warm up, I went, shoulder went. I literally hadn't even done any movement at all. It was that very first shoulder roll. Boop, there it went, gone. Generally speaking, it was these small moments where that pain kicked in. And I was like, what on earth has gone on? So I had to start tracking backwards. Okay, obviously it wasn't the shoulder roll that did that. There was already pain and tension. And as I said, I've got problems with this shoulder anyway, so it's always a little bit on edge. But what was I doing yesterday? What was I doing the day before? And I noticed this pattern that every single time my shoulder went into a massive spasm, it's because the day before I had either been sitting on my computer for a long time, so I was in this position, or I had been driving, so I was in this position. Now you'll notice both times my arm is in this position, so whether I'm here or here, my arm is lifted up, my shoulder's up around my ear. That particular position is clearly a trigger for my body and my shoulder. And the longer that I spend in that position, like an 8-hour stint on my computer, I would be in the most intense spasm the next day. And the same for driving. Popping to the shops was fine, but whenever I did a journey that was longer than an hour, I would be in absolute agony when I got out of the car. And the next day, it would go into full-blown spasm, nerve pain down my arms, numbness in my pinky and ring finger, as well as my thumb, so it was going both ways, which is like 2 different nerves. I mean, it was just firing everywhere. This is when it's really important to learn how to listen to your body, because you want to identify your own triggers. What positions are you holding which is causing pain? What particular movements are you doing? And can you find a correlation between the thing that puts it out versus what you were doing the day before? And there might be other triggers as well. Sometimes it's not necessarily what you're doing. It could be other things, such as how stressed you are day to day. Whether you've got a lot going on mentally, struggling with work or things that are happening in life. It could be the quality of your sleep, or you're waking up feeling unrested and your whole body is feeling tense and stressed. It could be a whole multitude of factors. And it's all about trying to identify your own personal triggers. And it might well be a combination of a few things. So I have to adapt how I do things day to day to stop this from happening, because it was infuriating how often it was happening. Literally every 6 weeks, like clockwork, boom, there it went again. So one of the very first things that I did, having identified these triggers, was to start to reduce the time I was spending in those positions. I did the thing that you're supposed to do, setting a timer for 45 minutes on my laptop. That timer went off, I stood up and I got some movement. Because remember, as I was saying at the beginning, your joints aren't designed to stay still. For me, it was my shoulder. It was in this position all the time, but it's a ball and socket joint. It's meant to do this. And I'm not letting it doing that, so I'm not letting it get lubricated through the joint, seizing up all the muscles around it. When I took those little breaks, that was what I focused on, trying to get all the different movements that that joint is meant to do. Now, I also wasn't going full range. I wasn't pushing it right to the very end of that point because my shoulder was a bit stiff still. And that's something that you have to be quite careful about, especially if you have something which keeps flaring up. What happens is your brain has decided certain moves are dangerous. And generally speaking, the further away something is, the more unstable the brain feels around that. So if I take my arm out here, that's the most unstable position for my brain because I've got the full weight of my arm on my shoulder. Whereas if I bend that elbow and bring the hand in a little bit closer, that's much more stable for my brain to say, yeah, that's okay, that's not as dangerous. And it'll let me do more there pain-free. Then you can go a bit further and you can get that full range back. But you have to work into it because the whole point of the pain stress cycle is that your brain is still stuck in, I don't trust that movement, I don't like it. Because if you have had an injury, once the injury has healed, there's not necessarily a mechanical reason. Sometimes there is, of course, if you've got a tear or you've got an impingement, there may well be a mechanical issue. But for the sake of this point, sometimes your brain has just become hypersensitized to that area because there's been a past injury or a past twinge and it's never quite the same again. And it's because your brain still remembers the pain, it remembers what happens, so it's trying to protect you. Your nervous system and your brain is literally designed as a protective mechanism. It's trying to save you from danger. It remembers how sore that was. I'm going to send a pain signal to that joint so that you can only get it to here. And now you've only got this tiny little movement, so you can only wave your hand like that. We're trying to teach the brain that going a little bit further is okay. But the way to do that is not to push through pain. Because if you experience that point of pain, your brain goes, danger, and you keep going, tough. Push it a little further, your brain's like, what are you doing? And you push further, your brain goes, whoa, all the pain fires signal and then flare up the next day. And then this is the key part of that stress pain cycle. The next time you try to do that move, your brain remembers that you pushed it too hard the last time and it goes, not a chance. So it sends those pain signals earlier. So yesterday you could get to here before the pain kicked in. Then you pushed it further. This time, when your brain does it, you're only going to get to here and it's going to go, not a chance. It's just going to send the pain and it's going to seize up those muscles to physically stop you getting that full range because it's trying to protect you. And that's what's happening throughout your entire body, through your back, through your shoulders, your neck, every single part of your body, your brain is trying to protect. So when should you push and when should you pull back? We want to work in that pain-free range as much as possible and try not to push into the point of pain. The first thing to identify is, what is pain? What is the difference between pain and discomfort? Because if you have something which is always a little bit sore and a little bit twingy, that doesn't mean that you just can't do any exercise ever. Instead, you've got to identify what's a reasonable amount to push and what's a reasonable amount where that's gone too far. There's a few ways to think about that. This is my very scientific method. Think about your face. Bear with me. So as you're doing an exercise, is your face perfectly calm and you're just pushing and you're like, yeah, that feels fine. If you then find your face starting to go, that's probably okay as well. But if you then start screwing up your face and you're like, then that's pain. Obviously, everyone has different pain thresholds. So it's just a slightly humorous way to think of how much are you physically reacting to that stimulus. Even if your face doesn't react, but you're kind of going, ooh, maybe you inhale quite sharply, that's when you're then starting to get into the realms of it's getting a bit too painful and you want to pull it back just a little bit. And it's a really difficult thing to learn. It is about listening to your own body. Nobody can tell you when you're at the point of your maximum. Nobody else knows your levels of pain, your pain threshold, or how your body feels. Only you know those things. You've really got to get in tune with your own body, your own brain signals to get to that point where you're letting your brain know that movement is safe. That is the absolute key. Movement has to equal safe. And you're always going to get pain until your brain associates those moves as being safe because you're working in that pain-free range. How do we get the body out of that stressed pain cycle? This is a 3-step process. First, the most important thing is calming that nervous system down. As I've mentioned, if you're particularly stressed, there's a lot of things going on, that in itself can be a trigger for the muscle spasms because your brain is just wired and feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, and stressed. So by trying to calm down how you feel generally day to day and coming out of that fight or flight response is going to be one of the key ways to start feeling better. And then once we've calmed the nervous system down, the next thing we want to do is bring in some body awareness and some mobility. Again, as I mentioned, if you go to the gym, you're quite active and you lift big heavy weights, that doesn't necessarily mean that your body is mobile or feeling loose, able to move freely and functionally. This is where it's really important to start bringing in lots of spinal mobility and generally getting your body to move the way that it was designed to. And this really helps with the nervous system because it's also teaching your body that movement can be fluid, movement can be flowing. You don't have to brace and tense all the time to be able to do things. And actually this leads me on to a funny story. I had a major hip operation a couple of years ago as well. My body's falling apart. And after this operation, I developed really bad sciatica. I still see the physio weekly. And what she discovered was I basically had no movement in my lower back to curve. So I stood with a very strong anterior pelvic tilt. I had no movement in the lower spine. This was actually what was causing my sciatica because anytime I did try to round forward, it was catching because the muscles were so inflamed around that nerve. She said to me, so How would you pick up a pen that you dropped on the floor? So I braced and I squatted down and I picked up the pen and I stood back up. Now let's just take a second to assess what I did there. Do you remember how I was talking about bracing through the entire body? And she said to me, what you need to be able to do is move freely. You should be able to pick up a pen like this. I was still in that fear stage because of how much pain I was in. I was very scared to send something into a massive spasm. But she explained to me how the more fear you have of movements, the more likely it is to cause a spasm. It's because of the nervous system, because the more you tell your brain that movement isn't safe, your brain believes it, it sends in more muscle tightness to stop you doing that movement. So the way to come out of that isn't just to go straight down to pick up a pen off the floor, because you might well hurt yourself if you're not ready for that yet. And that's such a small, stupid example, but if there's a certain movement which does feel particularly dangerous to your body, you want to starting off a little bit slower, a little bit less range, and as that starts to feel okay, you go a little bit further and a little bit further until you can do it like a normal human being. And then once you've got that mobility back and you're starting to feel like movement feels good again, I feel really free. That's when you want to start building in strength. So we're strengthening up around the supporting muscles through the shoulder joints to help keep those positions. We're getting those twists and those moves, so you're building a really strong and capable body. And this is really important. Even if you just have one point which is painful, say your lower back or your shoulder, you don't want to just work on that one area, like just your shoulder, just your lower back, because your entire body is connected. When your lower back is sore and tight, you're naturally going to stand in a different position. It's going to pull certain muscles down. That's then stretching these muscles on this side, but tightening these muscles up here. You might even find you start to twist slightly. Now nothing is in alignment. Your glutes get weak. Your hip flexors get tight. You maybe develop sciatica. You might even find your shoulders hurt because they're coming into a strange position. So it's really important to work the whole body as a system. It's not just one part. It's not just the lower back or just where that pain is, because that stress pain cycle is going to affect the entire body. And the whole body starts to get tighter and more tense. So you need to use the entire body the way that it was designed to move, properly support you throughout your movement day to day. But that might sound a little bit daunting. Like, where do you start with calming the nervous system down, building in body awareness, mobility and strength? And how do you know how to progress through that? And which exercises should you even do? This is exactly what I teach in my Pilates program, and I help your body to get those muscles firing in the correct order so that you're not having muscle compensation and other areas of the body aren't tight enough because of something that's happening elsewhere. You literally follow along through videos of me taking the big deep breaths, getting lots of movement through the body as we calm everything down. And then from there we start to build in more mobility, opening out through the shoulders, getting that spinal mobility. There's so much to be said for getting spinal mobility. For me, my sciatica, once I started doing those exercises, the difference in how I feel day to day is absolutely insane. My back is the most flexible and free that it's ever felt in my life. And I want to do that for you too. And my program is designed to take you through this step by step. And you also get one-to-one support with me, so you can ask questions and give you feedback on your form. And I will even give you some specific exercises for your situation too. It's a 4-month program so that you can actually get the results, because your body needs time to adapt to those different stages before progressing to the next. So check the link below if you're interested and you feel like your body needs this guidance and this support to help you get moving freely and hopefully bringing those pain levels right back down. If you want to get a feel for what it's like to do one of my sessions, you can give this video a try and you can see what it's all about. Your body is going to feel so much better after just one session.